$7 million for a block of ice twice the size of Texas. The entire country called it the stupidest purchase in American history. Newspapers destroyed it. Congress exploded. The public treated it like a national embarrassment. Seward's Folly. Seward's icebox. A frozen wasteland bought by an idiot with taxpayer money. But here's what nobody knew. That _quote_2_ land would save America twice. And the man who bought it saw something nobody else could see. Let's start with why everyone thought he'd lost his mind. 1867. The Civil War just ended. The country's broke. 500,000 dead. Cities in ruins. And the Secretary of State wants to spend $7 million on ice. Not just any ice. Russian ice. Thousands of miles from the nearest American city. No roads, no towns, just glaciers and bears. William Seward stood in front of Congress and said this was the deal of the century. They laughed in his face. But here's what nobody was asking. Why would Russia sell it in the first place? Russia looked at Alaska and saw a nightmare. Impossibly far from Moscow. Impossible to defend. Costing a fortune to maintain. And Britain, Russia's enemy, controlled Canada right next door. If war came, Britain would just take Alaska. Russia couldn't stop them, so they had a choice, lose it for free or sell it now. They picked sell. But who buys frozen wilderness? Only one country made sense, the United States, and Seward saw something nobody else did. Forget the ice. Look at the map. Alaska sits between two oceans. It's a bridge, a fortress, a dagger pointed at the Pacific. Whoever controls Alaska controls access to an entire ocean. And if the U.S. doesn't take it, Britain might. And then Britain controls the entire Pacific coast. Seward wasn't buying ice, he was buying geography. But try explaining that to a furious Congress. The debate was brutal. We just fought a war we can't afford, and you want to buy a glacier? There's nothing there but snow. Russia's dumping their worst land and we're paying them for it. Seward barely got the votes. Barely. 7.2 million. 2 cents per acre. It passed by one vote. And the second it did, the country turned on him. Cartoons showed him throwing money into an ice field. His own party called it betrayal. Alaska became a punchline. For 30 years, nothing happened. No settlers, no development. Just frozen emptiness that cost money and gave nothing back. Seward died in 1872. Still mocked. Still called a fool. Then 1896 hit. A prospector in Canada finds something in a river. Gold. Not a little. A fortune. The Klondike Gold Rush explodes. Tens of thousands flood north, and to get there, they pass through Alaska. Suddenly, the wasteland is the only route to the biggest strike in North America. Towns appear overnight, ships pack the ports, money floods in, and people start asking a dangerous question. What else is up there that nobody looked for? Turns out, a lot. Gold, silver, copper, timber, fish by the millions. But the big one? Oil. 1968, Prudhoe Bay. The largest oil field in North American history. Billions of barrels sitting under the ice. The icebox was on top of one of the richest energy reserves on the planet. 7 million suddenly didn't look so stupid, but even oil isn't the full story. Because Alaska didn't just make America rich, it saved America. 1942, World War II. Japan controls the Pacific, pushing east, island by island, and they invade Alaska. Not Hawaii, not the mainland. Alaska. Japanese forces land on the Aleutian Islands. American soil occupied for the first time since 1812. The government kept it quiet, didn't want panic, but it proved what Seward saw 70 years earlier. Alaska isn't just land, it's a shield. If the U.S. didn't own Alaska, Japan could have used it as a base, could have hit the West Coast, could have threatened everything. Instead, the U.S. pushed back from Alaska, built bases, drove them out. And when the Cold War started, Alaska became even more critical. Look at a globe, not a flat map. A globe. Alaska and Russia, 53 miles apart. The Bering Strait, that was the front line. Soviet bombers could reach Alaska in minutes. American bombers the same. The US poured everything into Alaska. Radar, air bases, missiles. The frozen joke became the most militarized place in North America. If nuclear war started, it would start here. Alaska wasn't just valuable anymore. It was survival. And then the world changed again. The ice is melting. Climate change is opening routes that have been frozen for thousands of years. Shipping lanes cutting travel time in half. And who controls the best position? The US through Alaska. But it's not just shipping. The Arctic is full of untapped resources, oil, gas, rare minerals, and every country with coastline is fighting for it. Russia, Canada, Norway, Denmark, and the US because of Alaska. The icebox just became the hottest real estate on Earth. But here's where it gets tense. Russia never got over losing Alaska. For decades it didn't matter. Frozen, worthless. Who cares? Now, with the Arctic opening, with all those resources, Russian officials started making comments, subtle, about how the sale might not be legitimate, how things could be reconsidered, probably posturing, probably. But it's a reminder. What looked worthless in 1867 is priceless today, and geography doesn't forget. So why does this matter? Because Alaska proves something most people refuse to admit. The decisions that shape the world aren't made by people who see the present. They're made by people who see the future. Seward bought Alaska when it looked insane, when everyone called him a fool. But he wasn't looking at 1867. He was looking at 1945. At 1968, at right now. He understood geography is permanent, position is forever, and he bet everything on a truth nobody believed, that the frozen North wouldn't stay frozen. Here's the question. What are we dismissing right now as worthless that will be priceless in 50 years? What _9_ is someone making today that reshapes tomorrow? The pattern's always the same. Everyone laughs, everyone mocks. And then the world shifts, and the joke becomes the prophet. Alaska sits at the top of the world, still cold, still remote, but not worthless. It's one of the most strategic pieces of land on the planet, and it cost $7 million. Seward died thinking history would call him a fool, but history had a longer memory. The quote 10 saved the Pacific, anchored the Cold War, positioned the US for the Arctic scramble happening right now, all because one man looked at ice and saw tomorrow. The treaty's in a museum. Faded ink, barely visible signature, $7.2 million. For Alaska, the dumbest deal ever. Until it wasn't. That's the thing about frozen gambles. You don't know what you bought until the ice melts, and by then everyone else wishes they'd seen it first. Alaska wasn't a mistake. It was a masterclass in seeing what nobody else would believe. Value isn't what something is today. It's what it becomes tomorrow. Seward, mocked, ridiculed, buried as a fool, understood that better than anyone. The icebox became a fortress. The joke became a shield. The wasteland became the key to the Arctic. And the man who bought it? He was never the fool. We were, for not seeing what he saw from the start.